Well, hey guys, bit of a road trip today. Heading out to an auction, a public auto auction. These are kind of nice. A lot of these auctions have turned into dealer-only auctions. This isn't like a Meekum Barrett Jackson type thing where they have these huge productions. This is a little small consignment auction. And these are nice because you can get yourself kind of a budget car. Obviously, Meekum, not a place to get a budget car at all. Nice cars, but not budget friendly. My daughter's in the market for a new car and she has a pretty limited budget. We've looked around Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, like I said, and we've looked in the various online marketplaces to find used cars and not finding very good deals. Folks out there have some junk, non-running, garbage cars that they're selling for way too much money. And I have some junk, garbage, non-running cars. I don't know. Maybe I should go make some money. These auctions can be a little daunting for people and can be a little scary. You don't really know what you're getting into. You're a little worried about what kind of car you're going to get. And that's fair. And that's also true buying from, Fred in the back alley behind the liquor store, right? So, but the nice part of these auctions is at least you can inspect them. And you can get in there early, usually the day before or maybe even a few days before, and inspect the cars. That's what we're going to do. This is inspection day. They've got about 110, 120 cars, something like that, for sale. So we've whittled down a list of about 15, and that list is whittled down on a few different criteria, I guess I'd say. One would be reliability. We want something that's going to be reliable. If we want an unreliable broken car, just drive the one you got. We want something that's going to be affordable, right? She's got a limited budget. Where are the cars that are likely to sell or be available in a range? We can't inspect 100 cars today, right? So what are the cars that we think are likely to be in her price range when the hammer drops? And the third one is sort of maintainability, or certainly the affordability of that maintainability. So we're staying away from cars that are going to be expensive down the road. So no hybrids, no electric cars, no high-priced foreign cars. Like some of these, you can get a Mini Cooper for about $3,500, and that sounds awesome when it was a $50,000 car not that long ago. But now is the time where it needs all of its maintenance and repairs, and those repairs are expensive. So we're going to stay away from a lot of those high-priced cars, and just because they seem like a good value today. We're going to stay in things that we think are going to be relatively easy to maintain down the road. She doesn't live at home anymore, and so free access to the shop to get her car fixed whenever she wants and needs is a little limited. So we're going to be a little bit more conscientious about the maintainability and affordability of this particular car. So anyway, we got about 15 of those that fit that bill. Obviously, we don't know what they'll sell for, but we can spend a couple hours inspecting 10 or 15 cars, and we'll see what we find. If you have one of these by you, this is a good way to get yourself a pretty good deal. And I'll show you how to do that, and I'll show you how to inspect the cars and kind of demystify the process a little bit. And like I said, I know it can be a little scary. None of these cars are perfect. They're all here for a reason. So if you're looking for a budget car that has no problems, this probably isn't the place for you either. But if you are willing to do some work, you can find yourself, like I said, you can find yourself a pretty good deal. So we'll go through the process. I'll show you how I inspect the cars. Apologize ahead of time for the audio and video. I don't have great on the road setup, so we're just going to take the phone and go hit record, and we'll see what happens. So there's going to be some engine noise and some road noise and some people talking in the background, and maybe sometimes some background colorful language. I'll try to edit that out if it happens. Most of these auctions have an inspection period. You can go out there and take a look at them. You can drive them a little. Sometimes they'll let you drive them around the lot, but oftentimes they won't. They'll just let you put it in drive, put it in reverse. So you can move it a couple inches either way and make sure the transmission, at least basic functionality, works. You can start them, you can run them, for a while. You can hook a scanner up to them. You can check fluids. You can look underneath. You can pop the trunk. You really can do a pretty in-depth inspection. You're not going to do that with old Fred behind the liquor store. But if you don't do it, you can find yourself into a bit of a lemon. If you just look online, those pictures can be pretty misleading. Certainly the descriptions are misleading. I wouldn't trust either one of them very far. You can stick a bumper back onto the car long enough to get a nice photo of it before it falls back off. But you want to see it in person, maybe kick the tires a little bit and see how they behave. If you have one of these near you, you might want to check it out, but make sure you go look at the cars in person. Don't just trust those things online, and I'll show you how to do that. We're going to get some coffee and some breakfast, and we'll hit the road, and we'll see you over there. All right, so here we are at the auction. This is the lot here. You can see they have various rows of cars. This particular auction is relatively small, so this is all there is, this lot here. Some of these auctions can be hundreds and hundreds of cars. I think there's 140 total cars this week. I've got about, I don't know, maybe a dozen cars or so on my list. I've whittled it down, and we'll see what we come up with when we do some inspections on them. So there's a lot of cars, right? So there's a lot of different things to choose from, but that also can be a negative, because you look at a lot of cars in one day and you might want to look at all the cars and you can't see all the cars. You can't possibly inspect 140 cars. You got to whittle it down, and you got to move quick. So some of the stuff we're going to do is going to be different than we would do if we were, you know, showing up at Bob's house to look at his car. It's going to be a little different than what we're doing here. One thing to keep in mind at auctions is fees. There's a buyer's fee. So this particular auction is anything under 500 is 25%, 17% up to 1,000, 12% above up to 10,000, and 7% above that. So that's on top of whatever your hammer price is. And then if you have them do all your paperwork, so $195 for a title. I think it's about $115 at the tax collector's office here. Title transfer admin fee. So you're adding admin fees on everything. That's how they make their money, right? They don't own these cars. They're selling them for somebody else. So they make their money on all this stuff. So add this to your cost, or at least factor this in, or plan to take your car home without doing this stuff and do it on your own. Save yourself a few bucks. This is lot 11. It's the first one on my list. It's a Ford F-150. I forget what year it is. What year is it?
2003.
2003. Let's see, 163,000 miles. It's been modified a bit. I trust more when I do it than when somebody else does it. So this obviously has a lift. It's got oversized tires, light bars. If you watch the Jeep video, you know my feeling about light bars. Not a big fan. The aftermarket continues with some aftermarket seats. First of all, let's see if it has a battery that works. It does not. Okay. Pop the hood though. At least we'll try to pop the hood. There we go. Alright. Aftermarket cold air intake. These 4.6 Tritons were... reviews are mixed on these. I'm not a big fan of them. In particular, I actually had a 97, had the same engine in it. This engine, this is the front of the engine, not here. Which means the back of the engine's back in here. So if you have to do like a head gasket, which is fairly common in these, you get the entire engine out. You can't get all the way to the back. Whenever I'm looking at an engine, the first thing I'm going to look at, before I even fire it up, is look at the oil. If the oil is real milky, or in this case, real watery, then I'm probably out. There's a cart floating around with a giant battery pack on it that you can use to jump the cars. I have a jump pack. We'll try it. These jump backs don't like to start batteries that are dead. They need a little bit of power so they can know for sure they're connected to a battery. Alright, so we can't start this one. The oil is suspect. I'd like to start it and circulate a little bit and see, but since it won't fire, that's it. There's nothing else to do here. I'm not going to buy it. We're going to move on to the next one. An 06 Buick Lucerne. First, I'm going to check to see if it's got juice. Okay, that's a good start. This one was the V8 Lucerne, which is the higher end one. I made a V6 version, which I would be a big fan of. The V8 version, I'm slightly less of a fan of. Because, not that I'm not a V8 guy, but I am. This is the Cadillac Northstar V8, 4.6 liter V8. They were pretty decent engines. They were kind of revolutionary for their time. But the longevity-wise, they're not great. This is a real low mileage car. I think it said something around 68,000 miles. So that's not really a huge deal. Like, you've got a lot of time left in this car. This oil is much better. Doesn't smell all burnt, so that's good. We'll fire this up and let it run for a minute, but it's just so noisy out here. Then we'll check all the rest of the fluids, the usual. So there's power steering fluid. Power steering fluid has some bubbles in it. It's kind of foamy. So that means it's got air in there. So it's got a leak somewhere. Not the end of the world, but something to know. This one doesn't have a nice clear jug, so you kind of have to jiggle around and see the liquid move in there. That looks, it's got fluid in it. I can't really tell because it's dark what color it is, but nothing smelled weird, and it wasn't all sludgy looking. Trans fluid is hard to get to. One of the problems with these V8 front-wheel drive cars is you have a relatively good sized engine and a transmission all in one small engine bay. And everything is really tight. For us Sasquatch guys. So let's taste. Start it right up. So we'll let it run for a few minutes and warm up. While it's warming up, we'll do a quick kind of walk around inspection because we got time anyway. So exterior wise, looks pretty good. Nothing major. Check the tires. So check the tire tread. Tires are expensive, guys. And if you buy it, you get a good deal on a car and then you got to put $1,000 of tires into it. It ain't that good a deal anymore. So check the tires real quick. How much tread have you got? You can get, you can bring a tread measure sticky thing. Just use your finger. If you can get your finger inside the tread, you're good for now. It's a budget car, right? We're not buying a brand new car here. So, for a average driver who drives just to work and back or school and back, you're getting a car for your kid. Tires like this, where you can get maybe the tip of your finger into the tread, you've probably got 6 months or a year's worth of tire left. It's like an interior peek. Got some cracked seats. So, maybe recovering or maybe a seat cover, or just live with it, whatever. It's about, like I said, it's a budget car. This would be a little less budget than some of the other ones. This is going to be, probably in the $2,500 range, I would guess. Alright, so it's warmed up a little. Just kind of looking for smoke. See if we got any leaks. I don't know if you can hear this on camera. There's a little bit of a whine coming from right here. That's the power steering fluid. That's because it's got air in it. And so it's going to need either a power steering pump or at least a power steering line. One or the other, or both, are bad. So that's something to keep in mind. All these cars have something, right? That's why they're here. So don't expect you're going to come here and get a perfect car for $1,500. So I've seen this here before, and the gut reaction is there's no glass. Usually there's glass. It's just stuck down. So peek inside the weather stripping and feel inside. You should be able to feel the glass in there. Yeah, and I feel the glass in there. So likely it's the motor that's broken. You just got to replace the motors and put the window back up. So they put plastic on in case it rains. That freaks people out, but those motors are not that big a deal. The motor's still attached, but there's nothing holding it. So it's going to need 2 window motors. So there's some, factor all that in. I'm going to put window motors in. I'm going to have to put a power steering pump in. Go do your pre-research and you look up the KBB value or whatever, the price of the car. Deduct all that from the price of you're willing to pay because you're going to have to do it. You have to do it. Your window doesn't work. You can't just drive with windows down forever. Consider that when you're looking at your, what car you want to buy and what price you want to pay for it. This is a little different. 07 BMW Z4. They're kind of cute. Look like they'd be fun to drive. I've never driven one. Can I even get in this car? Is this one, gorilla friendly? It is not really. So my head has to go up inside the ceiling. It's a good thing it's a convertible. Actually has recent service done, and they kept the receipt in here. What did I get? A diagnostic scan, an ABS, something. Somebody needs better penmanship. ABS control assembly defective. No work. That's interesting. I can't fit in this car, so we're gonna move on from that. Ouch. It's got some window trim missing here. So you wonder if it's got some leaks, these tops. It's a 15-year-old top, 16 years old, almost 17 years old now. So, what are the odds there's some rubber that's breaking loose here? So kind of what are the odds this doesn't leak? Not very good. Luxury cars come with luxury maintenance costs. And at this age and this miles, it's due for a fair amount of work. Keep that in mind when you think you're going to get, again, you know, you might go get a BMW Z4 for like $3,000 and think that's a steal. And then you bring it home and it costs you $4,500. So here they allow you to drive these around the lot here. Most places will only let you put it like in gear and put it forwards or backwards, but here you can kind of take a loop, which is kind of nice. Something unique about this auction. 14 Equinox, 226,000 miles. So it's one of the newer ones we've looked at so far, but it's a lot of miles in 10 years, 9 years. So again, check the oil first. And it's dry. There we go. See, I told you we'd find one. See that milky stuff? That's water or coolant in the oil. And that is either a blown head gasket or a cracked head or both, which is pretty much what I thought this was going to have. So we're out. That's it. No reason to keep looking at this one. We're only really a little bit into this. We've gone through 4 or 5 cars already, so you just churn through them. Don't spend a ton of time investigating a car that you're not really going to buy it. So just move on to the next one. That's what we're going to do. 06 Porsche Cayenne, same kind of story as that BMW, right? Like, it needs a little work, paint's a little rough. You might think, I've always wanted a Porsche. That'd be cool to say I own a Porsche. And I can get one super cheap. And you might be able to get this one super cheap. And they're actually not bad. They're a Volkswagen, basically. It's a Volkswagen Touareg, I think it is, but it's a Porsche, and it comes with Porsche price tag. So, you know, just keep that in mind when you're looking at these. What happens later? How much money am I going to put into this? If you think about budget cars, this is what we're looking at here. Looking at something we're going to get maybe in that 2,000 or 2,500 or less. This one, maybe. Somebody's going to overpay for this car because Porsche people overpay for Porsches. So we're probably not going to get that one anyway. But the Bug is a possibility, and it's a cute little car, especially if I was thinking of something maybe for, like my daughter was looking for a car, and maybe some little VW convertible. What teenage girl doesn't want a VW convertible, right? So this isn't a luxury car. This isn't a particularly expensive car, but it's a very unique car. It doesn't line up with any other car Volkswagen made. It doesn't line up with any other car in their partner lines like Porsche. It is its own car, which means that it has only its own parts, and you need a fair amount of expertise to know how to work on it. If you know how to work on a Malibu, you know how to work on a Impala, you know how to work, right? But you work on a Equinox doesn't mean you know how to work on a Beetle. Just know that when you go into these, you're going into some different level of expertise required and probably a different level of cost or low availability of expertise in the area in which you live. Anytime you have panels laying loose inside the car, that's not a good sign. That seems obvious, but while we're on that topic, if you can get access to the trunks, pop the trunk. See if there's any parts laying in the trunk. Sometimes when there's something loose, they just pull it off, especially under the dash component, and just toss it in the back and hope nobody ever sees it. Again, convertible top, got to watch for leaks. So when I look around inside, you don't know if it leaks or not. It's not like you can pour 18,000 gallons of water over it and see if water comes in. But you might be able to see inside. So peek under the inside, look for water staining, look on the seats, on the floor, anything right around this front seal or the windows. So look at the doors. You see, let's say check the door panels, but this one's actually missing the door panel, so that's not terribly helpful. So again, I think if you're looking in that budget range, convertibles it's a sketchy deal. Like, these can be expensive, and they almost always leak eventually. If they're not leaking yet, they will. So I would probably steer clear of convertibles when it comes to a budget-friendly car. But if you're looking to get a deal on a nice car, you have a different motivation, then something like this, although probably not this one, but something like this might be an option in a place like this. One thing that's critical when you come to these auctions, when you start shopping, we've gone through a bunch of different kinds of cars to show some examples. You really want to come in with a plan. What kind of car am I looking for, and why do I want it? Am I buying a car that I'm looking to flip? So I'm trying to get a good deal. It doesn't really matter what the car is. I'm trying to get a car that's I can get way below its value and turn around and put a little work into it and sell it. Am I trying to buy my first car or my kid's first car? I'm trying to find something that's budget friendly, just get to school and back and work and back and be reliable and be safe. Then you're looking for something, that coming in here, that's what you're looking for. Or if you're looking to get, a project. We have a car on my list here we'll show here that might be one of those, where this is a place to get it cheap, and you're not paying somebody's sort of emotional attachment to their old sports car, and maybe you can get a good deal on it and make a project out of it and start your project at a lower price point. But you're going into it knowing you're going to put a lot of work into it, so you're okay with the things that are wrong with it versus you're trying to find a cheap, budget-friendly daily driver. This is not that. You know, this might be a project, but 2012 Honda Pilot, 201,000 miles. Again, a lot of miles for 10 years. It's got some sun fading on the top, which is pretty common for the deep south here. No rust, so that's not so bad. Tires are not good. These are pretty bald. So, the bigger the car, the bigger the wheel, the bigger the tire, the bigger the price tag. So these are going to be a little more expensive even than the other car we looked at. So you're going to be putting tires on this, so consider that. Big, nice SUV. It's 7-passenger, so that's nice. And you might be able to get something good value on it. We'll see if it starts. Okay, it doesn't start, but it's got juice. So we'll do our battery pack. There we go. Supposed to have an engine cover on here, a plastic one, which they don't provide any purpose other than for looks to hide all this plumbing mess in here, but it's missing that one. Kind of makes you wonder why. Well, it's not bad. It's handy when they have the same color for both the positive and the negative terminals. That way you can either get it right or you can burn the car down. That's fun. So's that. There we go. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, it doesn't like something. I think it's backwards. I think what I thought was the negative is actually the positive. So again, super handy when you have black cable on the red, you thought was going to be the red wire. There we go. See, what do we got inside here? We got a Christmas tree of lights here. ABS, brake, traction control, TPMS, so the pressure, tire pressure monitoring, and an engine light. We have a radio. Enter code. Can we turn the wipers off? Why are the wipers on? There. Better. I don't know a lot about these, but it says enter code. So, kind of makes it sound like something's wrong with it. Comes with a CD though. What do we got here? Universal Content, Twin Seta Records, Dub Uno. So, you know, maybe somebody's demo tape. Make a star. Catalyst hair. Extensions wig specialist. I'm gonna leave it running because obviously the battery's got some issues. So we charge the battery up, but I'm gonna check these codes out. Just kind of show you how we go through that process. It's got so many codes. So this is an old phone I have, an old Android phone. This is an old Android-based Bluetooth sensor. I did a video specifically on this. I'll link it in here. These are super handy. Are you kidding me? No, it's got to do an update. Kind of feel around here and find that sensor, the plug. I have no idea. Oh, it's right here. Okay. They're always in a different spot. No particular rhyme or reason where they put them or what direction they put them. Okay. It's waiting on something. And we wait. It's helpful if you have all your stuff powered on before you get to the car. That's a tip. It's a free one. It's connecting to the reader, finally. And it comes up, first time you connect it, this is a 2012 Honda. Do you want to use the vehicle editor to edit your vehicle build and settings? No. We'll just leave it whatever it finds on its own. And we'll do diagnostic. Yep. So, it's got a bunch of codes. I don't think it has every code that it has, and here's why. That's one thing. Even if the car doesn't have a code, like doesn't have an engine light on, if you're serious about that car, plug one of these readers in and give it a shot. Give it a diagnostic scan. Here's why. Here it says number of distance traveled. Well, what does it say? I can't hear. MIL is activated, 0 miles. Number of warm-ups since the DTC is cleared, 1. That's this one. So somebody has cleared the codes on this car already. Distance traveled. Oops, no. Distance traveled, 0. So they've cleared the codes since it's sat in this spot. So these codes are only the codes that have come up since I started it, not having driven it. Sometimes though, some of these codes don't show up while the engine is running. So turn it off. Set it back to run. I just ran it dead. So it had enough juice in the battery to start with help from the jump box, and then this running of the vehicle finished off the battery, which means the alternator is bad too, because it's not charging, because it's deader now than it was when we started it. On top of all these codes, got a bad alternator, and now also probably a bad battery. So this is a definite no, but you can use this as an example, right? So you can see when you want to run these codes, you kind of see what they are. Some of them will let you save them. You can take a screenshot if you have to, so you can go back and look them up later. So this is just inspection day, right? Auction day's tomorrow, so I'm not have to buy this car today. I'm just got information about it, and I can go home and do some poking around on these codes and see if it's something that's something I'm capable of fixing, or maybe wouldn't be too expensive to fix. All again, input into knowing as much as you can know about the car you're going to buy, or you might want to buy. In this case, I don't want to buy, so we're going to move on. Take my sensor because I've forgotten that before. So this is a 02 Saturn Vue. I'm not trying to show this particular car necessarily. The reason I want to bring this up, this is lot 121. This is in fact a silver Saturn Vue, which is what the description says. However, all the pictures are of that one, lot 118, which is a Kia something or other. That is one example of a reason why you do an inspection, because that's not the vehicle. This is the vehicle. So any picture you look at, the interior, anything it says about it, you don't trust it now. What's the mileage? It might be that car's mileage, not this car's mileage. So always want to look at them in person. Don't just buy them sight unseen. Especially this particular auction only has like 5 pictures. I think it's all 4 corners and 1 interior picture. And it's universally 5 pictures. Every vehicle has 5 pictures. They don't have 6, they don't have 4. Some of these auctions will have 30, 40 pictures, like every nook and cranny, under the hood, in the trunk, or in the hatchback. That obviously you get a better look with more pictures. At this auction, you're not getting a good view online, so make sure you come out and look at them in person. You don't see many of these at these kind of auctions. This is a 71 Lincoln Continental 2-door. This is it looks like a mess. It's got bird poop all over it. It's probably been sitting out here a long time. But this is a cool car. You don't see one of these at an auction like this. The reason why that's interesting for me as a car guy is the shoppers at an auction like this aren't buying this kind of car. So you might actually be able to, if you were interested in a classic car project and get it at a good value to start with. I'm not in the market for this right now, but if I were, this would be something I might be interested in, just because I know it's a project. And I just want to investigate how good of a base is that project and what kind of value can I get. The price will stay down because there are not a lot of people who are going to bid this up. This auction does have a reserve option, so somebody that consigns their car here can set a price. Doesn't guarantee that's the price you have to reach. If it gets close, they'll call the seller, see if we can get a deal done. So there may be, in this, the downside of this might be that the seller will have a fairly high reserve, and it won't get there. And so you won't get the value you're hoping to get. But you never know, and if it's something you're interested in, maybe you throw a bid out there, you see what happens. Because they'll try to get the deal done. They don't want to leave a car here. They don't make any money unless the car sells. So they want to sell the car. So they'll help you and push that seller in your favor. If you're anywhere close, if you're thousands of dollars apart, they're probably just going to tell you it's a no-go and throw it in next week's auction. Inspecting a classic car is different. Well, that sounds obvious. but you can't hook a scanner up to it. It doesn't have an OBD2 port. So you can't just check the computer for codes. But also doesn't have a lot of electronics that can go bad on you. If it runs, right? They tend to be fairly simple. Lincolns, they're a little on the more complex side. Because it's like Cadillacs, it's a luxury car. So here you've got power windows, you got power locks, you got, let's see, power seats. Power seats in 1971 was not everywhere. I'm gonna guess the battery's dead. Yeah. So if it has all this power stuff, you want to check and see if it works. Again, it's a project, so you may not care that it works. Just good to know. Just a lap belt, shoulder harness was not a requirement in the mid-70s, early 70s. It's up here on the top. Tilt steering wheel, shift on the column. Looks like a 4-speed. Nice cushy seats. So when I said checking the trunk, sometimes it's checking the back seat. There's a carburetor. That's not a good sign. Again, it's a project. This would be cool. Somebody's gonna get a cool project out of this. Now it needs a ton of work. Interior is actually in halfway decent shape. The dashboard's a little rough, but baking in the sun. Man. I think this door weighs as much as that fit. I don't see any major rust on it. I don't know why. There's painter's tape. I don't know what it's trying to hold down, but it's all there. The top actually isn't bad. I'm going to talk myself into it.
Life alert.
Hideaway headlights. I said right about that Firebird. I'd never buy another car with hideaway headlights. Lincoln was noted for that. Oh my goodness. 460 cubic inch. Oh, air conditioning's not attached. It's laying here. Oh, it's got a Holley carb. So they did an upgraded carb on it. That's why the carb's in the back. We've had some folks making a home in here. So you see that kind of stuff? That's mice or squirrels. So now you want to start looking for wiring. It's pretty good shape. Like I said, somebody can get a fun project out of this. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, it won't be me. So we're at a 2004 Tahoe. It's a high mileage. It's 267,000 miles. I'm a Chevy guy, so I'm a little biased. But 267,000 miles on these doesn't freak me out at that budget price. Now you're not going to pay $6,000-$7,000 for this, but at $1,500 or $2,000, I'm also very familiar with them. So if I had to work on them, they're easy to work on for me. Parts are easy to find. So maintenance-wise, they don't get much cheaper than a GM truck platform, either pickup or Tahoe. It's going to need tires, so that's not ideal. Again, these tires are expensive. It does come with a Tiger print steering wheel cover that's stuck on there pretty good, so that's fun. It smells like bad air freshener and I don't know, hair product. Comes with 2 keys and 2 fobs, which that would be normal for a vehicle, but not normal at an auction. If you get a key and a fob, you've actually done pretty well. Fired right up. Does have an engine light on, so we'll check that real quick. Wants me to change the oil, which you would do. That's kind of a thing, by the way. If you buy a car at an auction like this, or really any old used car, first thing I would do when you get it home is change the oil. You know how long that oil's been in there? It doesn't even matter what it looks like. Just change the oil. No ticks, no knocks. So let's take a peek under the hood. It's clean. Somebody has cleaned it. It's too clean. Like somebody dressed this up. Put some plastic dressing on here. The other reason I know, right here, somebody forgot to wipe the excess off and it dried. So that's the spray stuff, that goopy back to black or whatever, the turtle wax stuff that brightens up all the plastic. It's a little bit overdone. However, somebody cared enough to do it. So that sort of implies in a way that somebody actually took care, or tried to anyway, as best they know how, to take care of the vehicle. It could just mean they dress it up to sell it, but you don't dress it up to sell it here. You dress it up to sell it in your front yard or on Facebook or whatever, or trade it in. So maybe they didn't get what they wanted for it, drove it out here and just get rid of it. But some care has been taken, and that it's better than not, right? I mean, I'd rather be that way than not that way. All right, let's look at the oil. So it's not really milky. It's a little bit of rust, not milk. I don't know if you can see it in there, though. You can see. Where's the camera? There it is. See that kind of that glistening? That's condensation inside. So that's a bummer. That means it's probably got a bad head gasket. And they have recent. So this is one of those. This is nice, fresh, clean oil. It's like a light brown to it. It's super slippery. It's not watered down. It's a fresh oil change. But they forgot to clean the cap out. So they did all this stuff to make this look. So this really might be lipstick on a pig. Or they just dressed it up, make it look like a nice new car, and just missed one little bit. We'll check the transmission fluid too while we're at it. We haven't checked that in the car yet. We never got that far. A little brown. Doesn't smell bad. Just old. No material in it. It's not all like sparkly and glittery. It would have a bunch of metal in it. So probably needs a transmission flush and a new filter, new fluid. I also think it's had a recent paint job, which is another one of those like good bad. Like, well, that's kind of is that a red flag? Here's why. Here's why I say that. One, it's not a great paint job, so it's kind of like a Mako amateur paint job. But you can see the red on the headlights here. So they didn't even take the headlights out before they sprayed it. That's spraying the hood with the hood closed. Spray across here, your overspray gets underneath. Same up here. There's a little bit of red here. See that red right there in the plastic? So they didn't even tape it. They just like stuck cardboard or something there and sprayed it. And that's overspray. That's a lot of overspray. That's like nice and shiny on the end of that plastic. Same thing here. Got paint up the side of this. So this has been repainted, and it's been repainted fairly recently. It might be a total pile of junk. It just looks pretty because they did a pretty good job of dressing it up. That's why this smells so funny on the interior. They sprayed some air freshener cleaner in here because it probably smelled like death. And well, it does have headliner falling in. Again, this is another reason why you look at these in person, because on the internet this looks really good. And even in that auction block, if you're sitting under those chairs and you're, you know, from here to these cars, you're 15, 20 feet from this looked really good from back there, from 20 feet away. You fire it up, starts up real nice. I bet even the air works. By the way, that is another thing you want to check. You want to check all the gauges. These GM cars, especially the trucks, were notorious for the little motors that run the gauges going bad, and the gauges would just like flop around. So you got to pull the instrument cluster out and replace them. Not the end of the world, but more work to do. This one's fine. So we got a good fan, ice cold air.
Mix 127.
We got radio. It's got rear air. Oh, that button doesn't work. Rear air works, or at least the fan works. So the only problem with it is it's got water in the oil, which is a big problem. But if you're mechanically inclined and you get a good enough price on this one, you know, if you get it for $1,000 and you put another 600 or so into a head gasket, well, you're still a pretty good deal, you know. So, but you gotta be, again, it's gotta be something you're comfortable with. Now, it wasn't so bad that it was like caked with milky stuff. It was kind of dried. So it's not a terrible head gasket leak, and you could probably drive this for quite some time as a short distance daily driver. Everything else seems to be really good. it would last a while before it gives up the ghost, but that's what happens. So in this case, it just is burning off coolant. So as long as you stay on top of your coolant, you could drive this for quite some time. But you don't. That's typically what happens is you forget, you go a couple weeks, you forget to check, it's out of coolant, it overheats. Or, you blow the whole thing up, crack your head. So it's definitely a risky buy. As long as you're comfortable with what it's got and you know you can do the work. Because these aren't, the head gaskets are always a big deal. Like whenever somebody tells you that replacing a head gasket isn't a big deal, they're lying. It's a big deal. It's always a big deal. It's difficult to do. As vehicles go, this is one of the easier ones to do it on. So it's relative. But still, got to know what you're getting into. 98, I think it is, Chevy pickup. Don't sleep on the pickups. If you're looking for a budget vehicle that's reliable, these Chevy or even the same model year of Ford pickups, F-150 was the number one vehicle for a long time. These trucks are built to last. They're built to take abuse. Now, they're often abused. So, trucks are expensive. So, you go try to find a used truck on Facebook, you're going to pay a lot of money for a crappy truck. So, maybe at an auction. Now, like I said about that Lincoln, where, that Lincoln buyer, that's not the kind of buyer that comes to this auction. So, you might be able to get that at a value. At this auction, the problem with trucks like this, that is the market. That is the people who are shopping here. This is exactly what they're looking for. And so that might end up driving the price way too high. But still, you might find a deal on it. And it's worth looking at, seeing if it's something you even want to bid on. Problem with this one, particularly, can't get in it. Door's stuck. I mean, crawl through the passenger side. We could take a peek. I'm not going to. I'm too big. I'm too old to be doing that. We'll take a peek inside the hood here. Let's see what we're dealing with. Okay. Battery that's way too small. So, there's that. Late 90s Vortec 5.7. Very, very good. Lasts forever. A lot of rust in here, though. This has been in the water. The top is clean. The bottom side is rusty, so the bottom, the frame, the suspension parts, they all have surface rust on. That means this has been axle deep in water. That isn't just road spray, because that would be all up here. So that's sat in water. So this one's not a great example, but in general, these can be pretty good. So run through the same checks as you would in all the other ones. And I probably shouldn't have closed the hood all the way because nobody's gonna be able to get the hood open. But sorry, whoever looks at this next. You can't get in the door. So if you're inclined, you can get in from the passenger side. I'm not. Well, we looked at a bunch of cars today. Some good, some not so good. Some might be on a list if you're looking for a budget or if you're looking for something, a project. Just kind of give you an example of what an auction like this has, what you might look for, what you might find, and what you might want to stay away from. So I hope that helps kind of demystify a little bit the auction process. There's a bunch of auctions like this. Some are publicly accessible, some are private, or some are dealer only. So again, look up and see if you've got one in your area, and maybe you can find yourself a deal. So any questions about this or anything I missed or anything you think I should add to this, comment down below. I'd appreciate it. If you have other like gotchas or other things, like you bought an auction car and this is what you missed, I'd love to hear it because I've missed a lot. I've gotten some good deals at auctions and I've gotten some bad ones. So it's fun to hear the bad stories. At least I don't feel quite so stupid about the bad choices that I made, and maybe that'll help somebody else too. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned a little something, and I hope to see you next time.